you go through school, you get the classical training. I think that puts you in a class above so many others. I think people might look at you like, oh, you went to Yale? Oh, okay. Like that's you've got a graduate degree in this. Okay. People might feel a
Yeah.
special way. You graduate from school,
Mhm.
and then what?
And then I moved down to Atlanta. And then I don't tell anybody that I graduated from Berkeley because it would intimidate people, and then nobody would know what to do with me. And so instead of being a singer, I became a writer. One of my college professors who passed away, Armstead Christian, may he rest in peace, he said that always do things that you are terrible at because eventually you will get great at them. And so, I took that to heart. And so I decided to say, you know what? I know that I can rely on my singing. So why would I just sing for the rest of my life? Let me try writing and see if I can get good at this. And so every single day that I was in Atlanta, Georgia, I was in a studio. And so for the first year that I was in Atlanta, all I knew was gas station, grocery store, studio. And that's it pretty much. So I dedicated myself and my time to becoming a writer. And within a year's time, I landed my first placement with Jamie Foxx. And then, from there, I started to meet a lot of great producers, Brian Michael Cox and Troy Taylor, and, all of these amazing people. And they were willing to give me a shot. And then that, turned into working with a lot of veterans and OGs. So your SWVs and your Dave Hollisters, your Johnny Gills. And then a couple of years later, I would land some records on Trey Songz. And those would kind of be the start of being introduced into the industry, like for real, in a sense of having like number ones on rhythmic and urban and traditional R&B as a writer. So it was a crazy and surreal moment for me to be able to work with all these people. And then eventually I get into a writing camp and we're working on Rihanna, and I forget what album it is, but we're working on that. And it's a bunch of people, a whole slew of people in LA. And I am waiting for DJ Tump. Shout out to DJ Tump. And I'm in the room and I'm playing piano and I'm singing because there's no one there at the time. And so DJ Tump scares the hell out of me, and he creeps up behind me like, yo, like what's going on? And I was like, I was just killing time. And so he was like, all right, cool. Well, let's get to work. We did a song, which was whatever, but it was enough to get the A&R's attention. And then eventually the A&R would call LA Reid to say, hey, you need to come and hear the song. So LA Reid comes to the studio and DJ Tump stops him at the door to say, all right, before you listen to the song, you need to hear this kid who was me. And so took me to the piano. LA Reid, sat beside me and was like, all right, let's see what you got. And, I did decent enough that he was impressed. And that, then word started to get around that there was this kid who could sing and that LA Reid was interested in him being an artist. Of course, that didn't pan out, but it was the start of something in a sense that when that happened, I started to create my own music. What did I want for my music and for me to sound like outside of writing for everybody else? Those songs that I would make would land me a deal with Motown Records, and then I would kind of sit for the next 2 years after that. And then then mysteriously.
And I'm shaking my head because for the people who are listening, this is why I say this music business is so tough. Because from the moment you're quote unquote discovered, you got to sit for like years. Like it could be 2, it could be 5. I rarely hear the story of, hey, I'm discovered, and yesterday I'm success. It's like you wait, they build, they build, they build. It takes an incredible type of tenacity and
Yeah,
personality to say, okay, I'm with it.
yeah,
I'm with the wait.
yeah.
It's the promise of what it could be. And sometimes it's a promise never fulfilled. How are you handling all of that in the midst of just like, yeah, okay, I'll still write for everybody else, but I'm waiting to pop myself.
Yeah. Uh, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, it sucked, especially on the artist end, because I felt like they signed me for a particular sound. And my sound was honest and it was sincere. But for that day and time, it was softer too. You know what I mean? And so they needed something a little more edgier for me. So they were always aiming for like, okay, well, what's the club record? And you can make a club record for Trey, but you can't make a club record for yourself. And I'm like, well, I don't belong in the club. And so that was hard for them to understand and say, how are we supposed to make money with him if he's not willing to make certain type of records, right? And, so for me,
What are those
yeah,
certain type of records?
certain type of records that they feel that can cross over, that can, like I said, hit the club and, everything goes crazy because it was a certain way that things were done in order for you to be successful during that time frame. And I felt that there was a different path, but because that path was untested, they weren't going to hear that. And I was new. So they was like, what are you talking about? So yeah.
That leads me to what is the difference between what is a club record and what your sound is? How would you describe your sound and what people get when they listen to you?
My sound is made for the theater. I'm very clear in that aspect, in the sense that my first tour was with Maxwell. I opened up for Maxwell. That was the first artist that I ever opened up for, ever in life. So that was a preview of God showing me, this is where I want you. And I kept asking myself, because I'm a 25-year-old, young man at the time. And I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, why am I opening up for Maxwell? Like, make it make sense, And what God was trying to tell me is that eventually there will be a void, and that I'm setting you in this place so that you can prepare to fill a void or fulfill a need. And so my music, it allows for people. I make music for lovers. I make music for people who want to be loved, to feel loved. And so at the end of the day, sometimes that doesn't allow for you to be in a standing room or at a, festival in the desert. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I desire for thousands of people to sit in a theater and to enjoy a concert where they can feel good, i.e. the Maxwells, the Kims, the Luthers, the Whitneys, the list goes on and on of
The Lucas.
Yeah.